It is 4 minutes past 3 in the morning when her own phone wakes her. One new voice note from her own number. She presses play and hears her own voice, calm and certain in the dark. It says it is 3:04. In 4 minutes the smoke alarm goes off. Get out of the bedroom now. She almost laughs. It has to be a glitch. At 3:08 the smoke alarm begins to scream. And she is already standing in the hallway. She had walked there without deciding to.
Lord, you came back. They always come back to the dark water. Then, mind the lantern, it does not care for sudden movement. You carry a little glass rectangle in your pocket, do you not? A window you check 100 times a day. You believe it shows you the world. Tonight I will show you a window that learned to show you tomorrow. Only a few small minutes of it. Just enough to feel like a kindness. The toll tonight is this. One voice recorded by the one hand you trust above all others. Your own. Listen close. The warnings are the easy part. It is the silence at the end you should be afraid of.
Her name was Devi. She was 26, she lived alone on the 9th floor, and after that first night the notes never stopped. Always at 3 in the morning. Always from her own number. Always her own voice, low and steady, a few small minutes ahead of the world. The second note told her which train carriage to step out of. The carriage she had been standing in lost its brakes a mile past the station. The third told her not to answer a message from a man she had met that week. She learned much later what had happened to the women who did answer. At first the notes frightened her so badly she could not sleep. Then slowly she came to need them. Think of it. A voice from a little way down the road, turning back to call, careful here, slow down, this one is not what he pretends to be. Who among you would not learn to love a voice like that? She stopped locking her phone at night. She left it face up on the pillow beside her. She began to wait for 3 o'clock, the way a child waits at the window for the post. But across those weeks the voice began to change. It grew thin. It grew tired. It began to sound as though it had been crying for a long time before it ever pressed record. And one night it gave her no warning at all. It said only 6 flat words. Stop replying. You are making more. Devi sat up in the dark. She had never replied. She had never once in her whole life recorded a voice note to herself. But when she opened her sent folder, the floor seemed to tilt. There were hundreds of them. Hundreds. All to her own number, all in her own voice, every one sent on a night she could not remember being awake to send it. She pressed the oldest. It was her, barely able to speak through the tears, whispering the same plea again and again. Please record the next one. Whatever you have to do. Please record the next one. And she finally understood what the notes were. Not gifts from tomorrow. Not magic. A train. Each Devi living just long enough to choke out a warning for the Devi who came after, before the thing that walked a few minutes behind her closed the distance. Each warning bought the next girl a handful of minutes. Never more than that. Only ever a few more minutes down the road. Once she saw it, she could not unsee the rest. A warning from 4 minutes ahead can only exist if some version of her lived those 4 minutes through, all the way to the end, to lift the phone and press record and speak. The notes were not a window. They were proof of life. As long as one arrived at 3 in the morning, it meant a Devi somewhere ahead had made it that far. Had breathed. Had survived the dark a little longer. So she did the only thing she knew how to do. She sat on the cold kitchen tiles, knees drawn to her chest, and she waited for 3 o'clock, the way she always had. 3 came. The screen lit her face a pale and sickly blue. One new note. She pressed play with a shaking thumb. Her own voice. Very soft now. Very calm. Almost gentle. It said, "You can put the phone down now. There are no more minutes left to warn you about. I am the last one. There is no one ahead of you now to record the next." The note ended. The flat was utterly silent, and nothing came to tell her what was already standing in the room with her. Then the screen brightened on its own. 3 words white on black. Recording. In progress. And her thumb was nowhere near the glass. Someone had to warn the next girl who would wake at 4 minutes past 3. Someone always has to. It simply would not be Devi's voice this time.
There it is. The toll paid in full. The cruel little trick of it was never the thing walking 4 minutes behind her. It was the gift. She would have run screaming on the very first night if the voice had only ever frightened her. Instead, it helped her. It earned her trust one small mercy at a time until she could not put it down. Until she waited up for it. Remember that. The most patient horrors do not chase you. They make themselves useful to you. So tell me before you sleep tonight. If a voice you trusted completely told you to turn left, and turning left had saved your life a dozen times before, then on the 13th night, would you even think to ask who is recording? Leave me your answer down in the comments. I do read them. I have a great deal of time. And come back tomorrow when I ferry you a different story. A man buys a fine old house for almost nothing on a single condition. He must never ever change the locks. Subscribe. The lantern stays lit either way. Until then, mind the water. Penny and I will be here.